Oh boy, here we go again. Time for the next entry in Mark's hit series, I Hate Every New Animated Movie Coming Out. The topic of today's video, the newly released Pixar's Turning Red. But actually, as a matter of fact, I thought it was alright. Obviously, I have a lot more to say and to go into detail about, and I definitely didn't love it or anything. But for what it was, Turning Red, it was okay. I was not interested in this film at all when it was coming out. I watched the first trailer, wasn't interested, and immediately moved on, not even planning to watch it. Believe it or not, guys, but I do try to avoid watching movies I don't think I'll like. Never saw Encanto, and I think I dodged a bullet with that one. But I don't know what it was with Turning Red, nothing about it grabbed me. Not to mention, I think the marketing for this film was not only atrocious, but also very, very smart. Atrocious in the sense that they revealed way too much before its release. I was seeing a new clip pop up every day. I think all that really hit about it was the finale, but everything else was shown before it even came out. But smart, because I could not frickin' avoid this thing. I saw it everywhere. Billboards, posters, YouTube recommendations. So I was like, screw it, fine, I'll watch your dang little girl movie, Disney. And it was okay. Turning Red stars Madeline Lee, your average tween girl who's tied to the hip with her overprotective mother.
But if I come with you, what are you doing? Linear equations? Geometry?
Things take a turn, however, when Madeline wakes up one day and realizes she's been transformed into a red panda, which turns out to be a family curse passed down for generations, that she turns into whenever certain emotions are heightened. Yes, this is a very not-so-subtle metaphor for puberty.
Perhaps we should talk about why this is happening.
No! It's okay.
You are a woman now.
This turns bad, however, where instead of trying to control the beast inside her, she instead starts using it for profit, so her and her friends can go to this concert for a boy band they love. And now has to decide whether not to remove the curse but miss the concert, or keep it and risk losing control of her emotions, maybe? I don't know, it's a metaphor for change, that's enough. From the trailers, I was initially very disappointed by this idea. If you've seen my videos before, you know I very much have an affection for simple, grounded slice-of-life movies, but because every single film needs a wacky marketing gimmick now, they had to take this movie about a girl trying to go to a concert and shoehorn in a big marketable fluffy panda. But actually, I think it works out pretty well. I think that mostly comes from the plot beats. They, for the most part, remain fairly grounded. I like the whole thing is kicked off from Madeline mum embarrassing her in front of a guy she likes. It's all very simple but relatable in the sense to where you'd know that if you were in that position, you'd also feel like it was the end of the world. And I think it works in its favor greatly.
Thank goodness I was here.
Overall, I think that they succeeded the most when it came to those stressful, cringe-inducing scenes. The tension there was very well done. I also like that it took place in the 2000s. It is strange now to see that movies are starting to move past 80s and 90s nostalgia, and we're now getting 2000s nostalgia movies. But hey, that's only a good thing for me. I love media that takes place in the 2000s. I was worried at first they go way too overboard with it, with surface level shit like, oh my god, Tamagotchi, flip phones, you remember this stuff, right? And thankfully it wasn't nearly that bad. Mostly.
Hey, Bart. Hey, Lisa.
Alright, speaking of, I may as well get the characters and humor out of the way now. It's very mixed. Madeline as a character was nowhere near as annoying as I thought she was gonna be. All the trailers made her come off as incredibly obnoxious with the whole, I'm quirky, I'm a dork and I'm proud of it. But in the actual film, it's not nearly as bad as they made it out to be. I like her friends too, even if they don't really have that many moments that stand out. They're just kind of there as a single unit. They're the friends, and that's all I ever really do with them. Although I like that each of them are color coordinated to a different color. Reminds me a lot of the South Park kids, actually. But yeah, no, they were fine. Except this one, though, the little pink one, I thought she was just annoying and loud and just looks like a shorter, more infuriating Trixie Tang.
Get that. I need lunch. I'm starting to black out.
The relationship that Madeline had with her parents was definitely a highlight, though. The pacing is great. They did a wonderful job slowly pulling that distance between them with the more she started embracing a red panda-ness. Again, it's all very simple stuff, like her yelling at her mother to go away, or saying she doesn't want to take her out. You get what they're gradually trying to do without needing to shove it in your face. The part 2 where Madeline finally gets caught abusing her power and her mother immediately blames her friends because she couldn't think her daughter would do something like that was a great scene.
We just wanted to see Four Town.
Four Town! You manipulated her for a bunch of tacky delinquents?
No, she wanted to.
Don't you blame her. She is a good girl.
The fact that the final battle is simply them just talking to each other was also a neat touch. You get what I'm saying. Their dynamic is the best part of the film. Gotta say, I also wasn't a big fan of the voice for Madeline. Also, I apologize if I'm saying her name wrong. Please don't remind me. I don't know, at times it's fine, but she delivers every single line with the exact same tone and cadence, and as a result, the humor just really feels at times because of her delivery. Overall, the humor wasn't that great in general. Like I said, it wasn't as in-your-face and obnoxious as I thought it would be, but I also never really laughed at any point. I did notice, however, that the film was slightly more adult than I was expecting, with the way they talk about boys, the period jokes, and even one of the girls getting called a perv. Apparently some people were getting pissy about this online, but I couldn't care less. Makes it more realistic to how I imagine teen girls actually talk. But I mean, I wouldn't exactly know, just let me know in the comments. I know I wouldn't have batted an eye if a boy movie said this level of stuff, so I don't see why this is any different. You know what, speaking of controversy, I think it's time to discuss the biggest one surrounding this film. One that many people bitched about on Twitter, and then other people bitched on Twitter about them bitching on Twitter. Isn't animation fun? The art style for this movie was clearly very polarizing, with some people finding it pretty ugly and annoying, while others praised how expressive they were being in a CGI movie. Where do I sit in the subject? Somewhere in the middle. I definitely think that the movie looks worse in stills than it does in motion. A lot of the screen grabs really don't do it justice, because while I can stare at this photo for as long as I want to and go, ew. In the actual movie, we only see said expression for a split second. The lighting is wonderful, the locations are colorful, and the designs... Well, okay, a lot of the background characters kind of look like they belong in Paw Patrol, but the main ones are at least well designed. I saw a lot of people defending the art style because it's paying homage to Studio Ghibli, but like... So? If this is what they were going for, I'm sorry, but they ended up with something much more akin to Wallace and Gromit. And those characters are brought to life and made way more charming with the stop-motion animation. But sometimes in Turning Red, it just becomes too much. Mei Lin has such a giant fucking mouth, and it really doesn't fit her voice. At a certain point, the jokes become less about what the character is saying, and more about... Look at the funny face! But yeah, even still, movie looks wonderful. Designs for the most part are good, and the parts of its art style I don't really like aren't as intrusive as people made it out to be. So yeah, I think that's it. Turning Red. Nowhere near as bad as I expected. Color me pleasantly surprised. That's not to say it's perfect. Again, in regards to pros and cons, I'd say the pros are the strong relationship between Mei Lin and her mother, the animation, the excellent pacing, with the cons being the humor in general. But this clearly wasn't made for me, so maybe you'll get something out of it, I don't know. But overall, solid 6 out of 10. Maybe even a 7 if I'm feeling generous. Definitely nowhere near as good as their previous film, Luca, though. But I hope this movie is successful. To pave way for more unique, creative-driven Pixar films, and not fucking Toy Story 5, Buzz Lightyear edition, and Cars fucking 4. Maybe someday we can even have a big-scale movie that takes place in Ireland. That'll be the day.